Good evening, all our friends on Facebook, all our friends out there in Africa, around the world, in cyberspace. We want to say a big good evening to every one of you. This is Reverend Dr. Aquilus Ricks coming to you live on our Zoom network for AfriH. AfriH is an acronym for Africans for the Restoration of Ethics in Government. We are a nonpartisan political organization that harnesses the expertise of professional Africans around the world to discuss issues significant to their careers and how that can benefit Africa and the people in Africa. And so we want to say a big welcome to each and every one of you tonight as we go into our session for tonight, Monday. We have with us a special guest. I know him personally. He lives in the Chicagoland area with me where I'm at. He is Dr. Godfrey Ekhomu. He is joining us this evening on our Zoom platform for AfriH so that we can discuss significant issues concerning money in Africa, and we're looking at the whole idea of wealth building in Africa. Dr. Godfrey is a licensed certified public accountant with a PhD in organization and management from Capella University. He also has an MBA in management from Howard University in Washington, D.C., and a BSc in accounting and computer programming from Voorhees College in Denmark, South Carolina. He is currently the CEO of GOE Global Enterprise. In addition to that, Dr. Godfrey is also involved in pastoral ministries as the lead pastor of TBS Ministry in Chicago and an associate pastor of King's Word International Church in Chicago. He is married and has children. He's also author of 4 books, and currently he's working on another one. Dr. Godfrey, you busy, huh?
By the grace of God, we are.
Yes. Well, welcome to AfriH, Dr. Godfrey. Welcome to our platform.
Thank you for the invitation. I'm glad to be here.
You know, Doc, we love Africa. We love Africa. That's our roots. And, in this session with you, we're going to converse and dialogue in the area of your expertise, the area of finance, the area of money, and pretty much just to look at some principles that you've learned and some principles you've experienced over the years in this area, and see how we can mix application in the African setting. Our goal in AfriH is to pretty much come alongside policymakers and our brothers and sisters in Africa with ideas how to help improve living conditions among our people, whether it's in terms of shaping policies by bringing these ideas that lawmakers can get in touch with and say, you know what these people are saying, we need to pay attention to that. Or the layman can come across our site, our YouTube, and say, I can apply these principles to my personal life to benefit my life and my family. So today our session with you is called Building Wealth in Africa. We want to just start with the basics, Doc. What is money? What is money, Dr. Godfrey? What is money? And talk to us about the right perspective or the right approach towards money. Is the right perspective foundational to wealth building?
Wow, thank you so very much for the question. I want to assume that you can hear me well.
Yes, I can.
And everyone can too. Again, I am grateful for the opportunity to share with you an area of passion for me, and so we can blend spirituality and the money effect also. And by the time we go through all of this, you would hear me maybe from time to time introduce scriptures into the equation here. So just to make everybody comfortable and know that what we are talking about is all Bible-based. In Genesis 8:22, it does tell us that seed time and harvest would never cease, meaning once you plant, and then one day you will get a reward out of it, so it will never cease. And that's how money gets grown, right? So the question you ask is, what is this money? Money is that particular substance, of instrument that we use in satisfying the needs of life. Life has basic needs, and you need money, you need resources to get to that point. You need money for shelter, you need money for clothing, you need money for feeding, you need money for your family, you need money for your ministry, you need money for getting well, you need money for almost any and everything of life. And so we need this money in order for us to be able to perform or function well. If money wasn't important in life, the Lord would not give King Solomon all this money, all this wealth. You know, he gave him that. He said, even if you didn't ask me for that, but I'm going to give it to you because I know you need it. And so because of that, he had all this money, he had all this wealth, he rode in good horses and whatnot, and chariots and what have you. And because there was money. And when you have money, what ends up happening is that you have a lot of friends, number one. And then number two, you will be allowed into places. You'll be allowed into places because that becomes your key to getting into somewhere. You know, without money, you know, we don't pray for that. We don't pray to be impoverished. We don't pray to become people's wahala, people's problem. No, we want to make sure we have enough so we can become a distribution center in the things that we do. So money is that item. Just like faith is the currency in heaven, money is the currency here. We need that in order to do the things that we need to do. You know, if you don't want somebody to look down on you, have some money. They will see you, they will know you have some money, they will let you in. But if they want to look down on you because you don't have, and because you really do not have, you know, it is what it is. You know, so I always, Doc, I really tell folks, you know, try to get money, get a lot of it if you can. Do it in the right way. There are so many right ways to do this money thing. You don't have to be dubious, you don't have to be nefarious, you don't have to be one that's scamming folks in order for you to be rich. Okay, then once you become rich, also know the duties that you have. As a distribution center, you have got to disperse these funds, because the more you disperse the funds, the more they come back to you. That's what money is.
Wow. Let's talk, Doc, about the right approach to money, or the right perspective, because you know, there are a lot of theories out there, you know, and what is foundational when you talk about into wealth, you know, the building wealth. You know, the idea of having the right perspective, you know, elaborate a little bit on that, because people want to get, as you mentioned, people want to be successful. People want to have, you know, good careers, you know, good, you know, travels, go to nice restaurants, and, you know, take care of their families, you know. But how does the right approach or the right perspective play a role in building, you know, wealth?
That's an awesome question. The right approach in building your wealth is something that we all need to have. It's just how you were born. Were you born to be a con artist? Or were you born to be a scammer? Were you born to lie your way through money situations? You know, the truth of the matter is that integrity, credibility, trustworthiness, truthfulness, and so on and so forth, all of those ones have roles to play in terms of you becoming a money man or a money person. You know, and in that whole process of grooming yourself, you come up with certain ways for which you can make money. You know, I did a lot of teaching about money thing, and I've always told folks there are 4 quadrants of money. And this is not in any book, it's part of my book, by the way, so I can use them. 4 quadrants of money. Money that you get from a trained role. If you are a nurse, you go to school for being a nurse, and then you are working as a nurse, you've got to have money. You've got to be paid from doing the work of a nurse. You know, and doctors too, and then teachers and so on and so forth. You know, look at all the professions that we have. If you work that trained role, you get money. That's one source of money. And then another way is by looking at your hobby. What do you like doing? What's your hobby? You like going on a racetrack, or do you like even doing money at home, like Forex or stock investments, or even games and sports and or coaching? Those types of things are things that will bring you money. You know, you have got to look at this as number one pillar is that for a trained role. Number two, I'm doing my hobby. My hobby is something I like to do, something I just want to do, you know, I'm having fun doing it. And then you've got to be making money doing what you are doing. And then number three is your passion. My Lord, and yes, my God. Your passion has got to bring you money. There are some folks who preach as a passion. They really preach, they put their whole heart into it. At the end of the day, somebody will be blessed by your teaching. You are not preaching because you want to make money. You are preaching because you want to bless somebody with your words and let somebody come and squeeze in some money in your hands, you know, and that's because you have a passion for it. There are some people who like to just do counseling work, you know, because this is who they are. They just want to counsel other folks and teach them the right ways to go and so on and so forth. You get paid doing that. There are some folks who just like sewing, you know, like, you know, sewing with a sewing, or some who just like to sing. These are things of passion. These are things that no one can take away from you. No matter what you do, no one can take those things away from you. Those things ought to bring you, ought to fetch you some money too. And then the final one, you know, according to what my book says, the final one is called necessity. Out of necessity, money must come. Out of necessity, money must come. What do I mean? When the employer man tells you, I don't have a job for you anymore. When the wife done took the kids and everything and say they are leaving. When you don't have anywhere else to go anymore, the pastor man don't preach with you. So you are just like on your own. Now, this is when you turn to God and say, God, I'm just yours. Just do whatever you want. Necessity comes out of it. What does that mean? You might find yourself doing babysitting type work, and then they pay you from that. You might find yourself doing Uber or Lyft or taxi driving. You get money for that. You even going back to that same sewing, you get money for that. Things that you normally would not do because your back is against the wall. And that's why the Bible tells us in the book of Hebrews chapter 4, verse number 16, it says, let us come boldly to the throne of grace. What happens there? You say, where we can find mercy and grace in time of need. That word in time of need, meaning you don't have any left. You don't have any more money. You don't have any more thing or anybody to look out for you. What do? In time of need, you need that grace. And that's why the book of Hebrews talks about that. And so I think in all, when you look at the various avenues for which money can come into your life or the things you need to do, your whole disposition should be that of, okay, I have what God has told me he will give me. The book of Amos, chapter number 9, verse number, I think 13 or so. You know, it says one thing, it says, listen, harvest is all around you. Harvest is all around you. Blessings are all around you. You know, and then when the man of God wrote something in Deuteronomy, he said, you know, you are now ahead and not behind. You are the front and not backwards, and so on and so forth. You are the lender and not the borrower. So you get to a point where the scriptures will really become real to you, where you can see this and say, this is why God has put me in this position. Thank you.
Wow. Quite an introduction. You know, I want us now to kind of bring it home to Africa, Doc. I want us to do zero in Africa. You know, when we think about Africa and as you look at the different statistics and other things you see, you know, for example, this, I came across ones that said per capita, Africa is the poorest continent in the world. It troubles me, you know, it troubles me because we you know, those are our people, those are our roots. But when you hear things like that, Doc, again, how does it resonate with you? You know what I mean? In terms of just hearing that, knowing that that massive continent is statistically, quote unquote, known to be the poorest. You know, what does it say to you in terms of our view, you know, about money there?
Thank you again for that question. So this is a very important question that you've just asked. And our viewpoint and what we see and what we hear may not correlate with other things about Africa. Africa is the richest in all kinds of solutions. It richest in mineral, richest in certain aspects. You know, in all the nations in Africa, they have one good source. The problem with what that is that the leadership in Africa is something you don't talk to your mama about. Leadership is absolutely horrendous. So what they do, I take a country of Nigeria, for instance. When I become the president, I'll take care of my family and take care of my friends and take care of those who married my daughters, and then that's it. And then once we've chopped up the money, and then we now start to engage in bribes and corruptions and so on and so forth. So if the leadership is corrupt from the root, it's hard for you to see a trickling effect of goodness. Because why? You see, the Bible tells us in the book of Psalms 133, it says that what happens is that there's this oil that was put on the head of Aaron, and that oil sprinkled down all the way to his beard and down to the skirt of his garment. He said, and he creates for blessings forever. So if you are working with a tainted oil, then guess what? The blessings become a curse forever. And that's why you hear that the same thing about Africa, they are so poor, that they're always in need of something and whatever else. But wait a minute, let me just say something. These same Africans come to a place like United States of America. And if you go through the statistical records, you have a lot more Nigerian doctors in this country that doesn't belong to us, being doctors or medical doctors here. And then if you really allow the statistics to play itself out, you see a lot of Nigerians or a lot of Africans with a lot of money. I'm in taxation. I'm in tax business. I have 2,000 clients. And with the 2,000 clients, I see all kinds of W-2s, 1099s. Man, when I see these, I mean, these are mostly Africans with $400,000 of income, with $500,000 of income, with even $1 or $2, $3 million of income. You don't see that. Nobody says or talks about that because they don't know that, because we are flying under the radar. We just don't want us to be in the spotlight when it comes to things of that nature. You know, they look at a company like mine, they say, how is this company able to make it? Why? Because some of these same Africans patronize the business that we do, and so we are able to do well. But there goes a link. The link is, as Africans, we must not forget homeland. What does that mean? That means we need to help invest there and help bring things back, take monies there, go to the hospitals and put new infrastructure in there, and go to schools and help with computers and laptops and whatever, just to ensure that these folks are doing fine. But we can't do those things because when we now go, because of the crime rate, become victims to such situations. And so we don't want to go. And so you and I will sit back here and hear the bad news about the place being desolate, about the place not growing, about the place not having money, but money is concentrated in the hands of just a few. That's what's happening. That's why you hear the news about the money is not going anywhere. We are poor. No. Truth be told, we have all kinds of materials that will make us become rich, but we are not working the resources properly. That's what the issue is, in my opinion.
Wow. I think on a balanced approach, Doc. On one hand, you think on the national level, governments come about with different things like policies, economic policies, monetary policy, all those things. They come across these things. They bring these things to the table to help. They want to see the country prosper. But then on the other side, you think about the layman, the street vendor, the parents that are working hard to send the children to school, and so you have government doing all these policies to get wealth, but then you see the families, struggling. So first, let's talk on the individual level first before we talk on the national level. From your perspective, Doc, What can families in Africa do? I know, again, I know it's a whole different dichotomy because that's a whole different, way of doing things in terms of,
Mhm.
as opposed to the West. But within this setting, what do you think can families do to start baby steps, as it were, okay, to start generating wealth in Africa?
Amen. One wonderful question. To start generating wealth in Africa, let's just take a spotlight on any family.
Mhm.
Family ABC. Family ABC wakes up a day and says, well, you know what? We need to do something differently here. We need to find the best ways in order for us to live well and have the money we need in order to promote our lifestyles and so on and so forth. Okay, well, of course, we take all of this with a mindset that, prayers have been said and we're now believing God to execute and supernaturally help us out through whatever we are going through in life. What family ABC would need to do is to, number one, obtain the right sets of education. And so at least, you don't start work or start your business, not even know what debits and credits mean, right? So we need to get the education out of the way. So in this example, I'm going to say that they have gotten their education and they are fine. They have even a bachelor's degree now, and then they are sitting looking to see what's going to happen next. First thing, be employable. When you are employable, you make sure you go to work for the person that has employed you. Don't scam them. Just do your work. When you do your work, you'll be rewarded. You may think your boss doesn't see you. You see, I have a company and I sit in a different place from where everybody sits. And, it's funny because they don't know that that I see them all. I don't have to have a pinhole camera so I can see. No, just my conversation for 2-3 minutes will tell me everything about you. I would really want to know whether you've been busy or whether you've been slacking off or whatever. And then amongst them, they test me. Okay, this person is being real talkative. Can you move them? So I'm like, okay, I don't even need to be there for me to be informed of whether things are going well or not. So be employable, meaning you go to school, meaning you get the right degree, meaning you are ready and willing to work. And so when you are employable, somebody gives you the job, do it honestly. Do it honestly so that God can bless your honest work. It's not when you see the boss, you become an eye service person. When you see the boss, Ephesians 6:6, when you see the boss coming, that's when you try to fake that you are working. It will still show. Regardless, it will show. Whether you've been working or whether you haven't been working or whether you are BSing yourself around, it will still show. Okay, so that's the reason I say be employable, go to work on time so that you don't get fired. Get there, don't steal that material so you don't get fired and things of that nature. That's number one. That's you working for somebody else. Well, what if you say, in my heart of hearts, I believe I should own my own business. I believe I should start my own, whatever it is that you want to do. Maybe a cab driver or whatever, it doesn't matter, right? So whatever it is you want to do, then of course, you pray about it and let God bring resources your way. How do these resources come? You have got to now sit down and say, number one, who do I know that has money that can trust me? Okay, because a rich uncle always comes through. A rich uncle always comes through. I know that because I'm living that life now. My nieces, my nephews, everybody, whether they are doing it or not. Oh, Uncle Godfrey. Oh, Uncle Godfrey. Oh, Uncle. So I even have a budget for them. So I know somebody's going to call. Uncle Godfrey is going to. No, that's number one. Number two, all through the time you were being raised, you have to have some savings account, something little. Just show that you are serious about this. God knows how to breathe on that savings to become a real mighty thing for you. Okay. Number three, if you are there, you are looking for something to do, and other people see the fact that whatever you have laid your heart on to do, they will support you. You will receive the support from all folks. Number four, and I do not advocate this much, is take a loan. I have a business idea and I know it's going to work out. You go take a loan. The only reason I said it, to take a loan is because Elisha told somebody to go take a loan. Elisha said, go borrow. He said, borrow some cans and come here with the cans and then see what I will do. And by the time Elisha prayed over the cans or blew breeze on the cans or so, there was so much oil for supply. Now they took the money and paid off the loan. Now they became a Deuteronomy person. You be the lender and not a borrower. When you borrow, give back quickly and move on. Don't borrow and say, I want to remain in debt. So these are some of the things. And of course, definitely, when you have this type of opportunity, make sure you speak it up. Let people hear, because the words of your mouth will create things for you. If you have an idea, and I'm not saying you go to the birds and tell the birds about all of your ideas. And what I mean by the birds, I'm talking about those who are not really in favor of you, but you want to talk to those that will really hold hands with you and get you through this particular process, and you'll be okay. Okay. And by the way, if you want to be a bird, don't be like a chicken. Why? Because chickens are weak. If you want to be a bird, don't be like a turkey. Just follow the name turkey. You just can't do much about that. If you want to be a bird, don't be like the hawk. What does the hawk do? Goes up, goes down, goes all sideways, have no direction. If you want to be a bird, don't be like a vulture. The vulture will go out there and look for dead bodies only to feast on. If you want to be a bird, be like the eagle bird. Oh man, when you are the eagle bird, you can soar in many directions. You can go far, and then you make accomplishments of the things that you really want to do in life. That's how you get started. And as you soar like that eagle, you will see things coming and falling in place for you. Thank you.
I like the comment you made that of the things you mentioned, finding, someone who can trust you, someone who can trust you. Sometimes I think the issue of trustworthiness, play a picture, on an individual level, play a picture, because as you rightly said, there are a lot of successful Africans in the diaspora, that don't mind helping relatives and people back home get their financial footing, but the issue is trust. If they invest XYZ amount of dollars, will they get the rate of return, what I mean, that they expect, can the person value what they have done for them, and apply, so I'm glad you mentioned in that issue, finding someone who can trust you, and again, folks, if you're watching this, is AfriH, and we're talking about, in the context of Africa, how we can take baby steps, how people can take baby steps to get wealth, and these are very, very, very helpful ideas. Doc, I want to bring us to another a question here before we take some questions from our audience here. Is the issue on the governmental, on the national level. How, you see, because with AfriH, our vision is how to solve a problem, not necessarily just, talking about the problem, but how, what ideas we can bring to the table to address this issue, especially now we're talking about wealth creation in Africa. We want to aid lawmakers and policymakers back home with these thoughts that we're talking about, that we're sharing, that they'll be able to say, what, we can appropriate this thing in our policies to help our citizens, get wealth. How do you, how can policies makers of government come alongside the citizens? Because I'll be honest with you, Doc, when I look in the West, there's nowhere perfect, but I see systems, I see capacities built up in Western nations that 18-year-old, 19-year-old, their ideas make them millionaires and billionaires. We talk about, intellectual property protection, all those things, how can African governments come alongside our citizens to create the avenue that the average citizen can generate wealth?
Very, very good question. Thank you so very much. So I'll give you an example. I belong to an organization here it's based here in Chicago, but it's an African organization. I go to the meetings the last Sunday of each month. I'm the chaplain there. And then we don't even agree on one thing together. You put that, let's talk about signing a constitution. I mean, we will take 5 months debating that same thing over and over again, failing to see the value of what we're looking to do. And number two, what ends up happening is that a lot of people, because of the background, are used to being very argumentative, and they just don't allow policies to go as policies. They want to have the last word. They want to argue their way out. And one of such, I engaged one time. I said, why are you doing this? I just want to be heard. I said, you want to be heard, and then you have just slowed everybody down for no reason. So they politicize things by various groups, clans, and things of that nature. That's just how Africa is. That's why Africa has several languages, religions, and whatever else. Why? Because we end up politicizing things. How does the government work in this case to ensure that this is better for us all? Well, the government, if the government doesn't have a good head on its shoulder, then there's a ripple effect of incompetency in the things that we do. So the common man doesn't have a say per se, because the common man doesn't have the power to talk to the government. When you go to a government infrastructure or a system, you are told, no, go back to the line. And when you're on your way to the line, you see somebody else who don't cut the line. And then you're like, okay, what is this? Frustration sets in. Why do a lot of those in diaspora, when they go back, they rush back in? Because once they get there, they get frustrated by the things that they see. And then they say, no, forget about the heat. They get frustrated by the things that they see. Then they just say, let me just come back to the US and die here. And why? Because the system becomes part, everything they do becomes part of the system, becomes part of their living, becomes part of whatever else. So if you're not used to that, then you get frustrated. But if you are used to that, you laugh at the other person there saying they don't know what they're doing. So that's what's going on. So the government on their own, unless they come out to say, I'm giving this out, this is the way this will move, nothing moves. The government would have to do it. I recall there was a guy, his name was Idiagbon in Nigeria, his blessed memory. When the guy was there, he was the VP or something like that. He would say, you've got to be in line before you get service. You've got to, you can't throw garbage out on the streets. When you get caught, you'll be thrown in jail or something, I mean, like a very strict politician. So everybody fell in line. When you go to the airport, you see people in line. So, well, he died, or I don't recall what happened. When he left, then things just started to go back to normal. Things started going back to, jacked up way of looking at things, And so, unless the government really comes in and says, this is the system, this is how it should work, and this is what should happen, nobody complies. And then everybody just does whatever they want to do. Remember, this same thing happened in the book of Judges. In the book of Judges, they said, there was no government. There was nothing. So folks just did what seemed right to them. In African nations, you see that today. And that's why we have a bunch of wars, and just one set will just say, you know what, I'm just going to go fight the other group, And when we have our wars, they let us kill ourselves. Nobody steps in like you see with Ukraine and Russia. They just say, okay, when they're tired of killing each other, they'll come back to their senses. So nobody will come to mediate over it. When they send any level of government, just a little secretary to go there and go and make peace. Whereas in this Ukraine and whatever else, you send high level people out there. Anyway, I digress. But that's exactly what we see here. Thank you.
Wow, time goes so fast. That time goes so fast. We can go on and on and on and on and on. But I'm telling you, folks still who are watching, if you have questions for Dr. Godfrey, please type it in the chat room. I have one question here. What is the first step to build wealth? I think you already mentioned that. You mentioned the first thing you mentioned, education, making yourself employable. And for those of our brothers and sisters back home watching this, feed, we really encourage you to, as Doc mentioned, to get training, stay in school, stay in school. You know, that sometimes it gets tough, you know, and people say, you know what, you know, I got to make ends meet, so let me just quit school. Well, what's your take on being consistent and just pushing yourself through your education in Africa?
You have to. I mean, I mean, the truth of the matter is that you have to like go there. And this is one occasion where, you know, taking like a college loan, if they have that in there, you know, it's good to do because you know this school will transform you. And once it transforms you, you give them back their money that they gave you to go to school. You know, I'm definitely you have to push through. If you say, oh, my mom passed, my dad passed, nobody to help me, and you know, you become an indigent citizen. And the truth of the matter is that they still help. You know, you haven't looked. You know, some of my clients say to me, where have you been? I say, you didn't look enough. If you had looked, you would have seen me. You know, you didn't look. You know, I mean, now that you have found me, now you're like holding on to me real tight. I don't want to let you go. I say, I'm here. I'm not going anywhere. You know, God will keep me around for a while. So I'm not even worried about that. You know, so those are the things. Yeah, you've got to push through.
I got another question here. How do you give to Africa? You know, when so many are when they rather say stealing from the country, but we want to say, you know, misappropriation. We want to say, you know, you mentioned integrity, you know, lack of integrity. So how does that impact, you know, Africans in the diaspora really investing in their own people? You know, I mean, when you see all of these things going on, improprieties and things like that.
Yeah. So what you do for it to have um, good structure in the things that you do, belong to an organization, especially if you're an African in the diaspora. You have got to belong to, you know, in Nigeria, you have the Esan community, you have the Edo community, you have the Yoruba community, belong to something. This is not your place. Belong to something, you know, just belong. And once you belong to that thing, I'm not saying you go to meetings every day or whatever, just know that you have your own people around you. Okay. Now, if you're looking to give something, let's say there's some bad catastrophe back in Africa, wherever you want to give, then give through your organization, because the president of the organization would know the person that's legit on the other side that would do that. You know, we are here to help them there. We are here to help them there. Okay, we have the opportunity. A lot of them are looking to come here, but you that's here, you are not even helping there. You are only focused on you. That's why most of us are spinning our wheels, because we have refused to become distribution centers. You know, if you are not a distribution center, you are just give me, take. You are not growing. Look at whatever money you had last year, you even may even have less this year. You know, but once you become a distribution center, Ecclesiastes say the clouds are heavy. Say because the clouds are heavy, it's going to pour down, meaning you have invested in many places. You know, and if you have invested in a place, don't start looking and saying, okay, I want the results right away. Don't worry, it will come. It will come. It's only if you just don't have the time, then, you know.
Yeah. We got another question here. With the need for our people to gain education, what do you think about trade schools and the need to build a strong middle class in Africa?
Oh man, that's an awesome question. That person needs to get a gold star for that. You see, so we all move to, you know, outside of trade schools and so on and so forth. Everybody wants to go to college or university and blah, 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 you know, but the trade schoolers are the ones that should be even controlling the money, because they now form the new middle class. And it's the middle class that should be able to do a whole lot, not the ones in the top echelon, because those ones have money. They can care less about what's happening elsewhere, right? So the middle classers are the ones that have gone through trade school, or how to sew, or how to fix cars, and how to, you know, those types of things, you know. So once you learn the trade real well, you must be a good business person. You see, when you're learning it, I think trade schools these days now have a business segment of it, or a business element to it now. They now teach people, it's okay, now once you own your own business, this is what your assets are, this is what your liabilities are, this is what your equity is, or whatever. You know, they'll take you through the basic balance sheets while you are there, so that you know what to do when money comes to you.
Wow, wow, wow. That's so much, so rich. That's so rich, Doc. I'm just thinking, as we're about to conclude now, I'm just thinking about that you mentioned concerning the trade school, and even the question, person that asked the question, because you look at it and you see that even if someone's planning to get a 4 year, degree, that's fine. But if they get a trade in baking, and you mentioned sewing, carpentry, masonry, trade in you talk about mechanic,
Mhm.
just that trade because and like you were talking about, finding something to do, to start getting money in your hand to start building wealth. That trade, you're right. I mean, in fact, the trade alone can support you through college because you get contracts, you get businesses, you get these things coming your way because you have some trade that you just learned. And it wouldn't take long, like a 4 year degree to get that trade.
Yep.
Just a matter of months or an
Yep.
apprenticeship. You know what I
Yep.
mean?
Yep.
So wow, that is so informative, Doc.
Thank you.
That
Thank you.
is
I
so
think I
informative.
think that's what we need to do. Yep.
Got all people learning some trade, even as they think about going to college, let them learn some trade and
Mhm.
then provide for themselves. Great. Well, Doc, it's been a wonderful time having you. Thank you so much for stopping by our discussion platform. We really appreciate you. Thank you just for the wealth of knowledge and expertise you share with us. Any concluding thoughts before we let you go?
Thank you so much again for the opportunity, and I hope this continues to grow. What Afri is doing, I think it's an awesome thing. I listened to Apostle
Gabi?
yeah, Tavi some time ago. I was like, oh wow, this is good. So I'm so grateful to God for the opportunity you guys handed me here. So I close with this saying, um, you are supposed to walk in abundance. You are not supposed to be pinching nickels and dimes. You are supposed to call forth money, yeah, and not see money and let money you chasing after money. Let money come after you. Where you are seated, let somebody bring you an idea. Where you are seated, let somebody bring you some money. And folks come to me. A guy the other day, I'll leave you with this story. Guy brings $6 million to the table. He says to me, he's looking, he heard about me. He wanted me to tell him how to help him not to get in trouble in taxes and so on and so forth. And what should he do with this money? $6 million. He brought his bank statement and everything. He sits down and I said to him, we need to open the conversation. He goes, what do you mean? I said, well, you need the conversation open. I said, the conversation doesn't open unless $5,000 sits on the table. Joke, not joke. This guy put 5,000 on the table. I said, now, welcome to my place. What can I do for you? He says it again. I take the 5,000, put it in my pocket, and then go after telling him that. That's letting money walk to you. I'm just sitting, I'm doing, this is what I do for a living. And then money comes to me. I say, okay, good. Ideas that will change things, that will transform you. Those ideas will come. Don't be afraid. Now, I must admit, I'm on the risky side as opposed to some that are very conservative and that's their problem. That's okay. But I'm on the risky side. I'm willing to take risk of things, say, hey, this would work. And if it doesn't work, I say, dust myself up and move on. I say, okay, it just didn't work. Something else would work. Things like that. Now, you have got to get to a point where you don't chase money, because when you chase money, money will say you are an abuser. Anybody you chase thinks you are an abuser and they run from you. But when they chase you, when money chases you, you are just a good old fellow receiving and collecting the dough. You are running to the bank and smiling. The bank lady knows you now. They say, oh, you don't came to drop some money off again? Say, yes, I have. Then you smile. Man, there's no problem with you having it. There's none. Let haters hate. That's what they do. That's why they are called haters. They are doing a good job of whatever they're doing. The moment they hate on you, you go get some more. Go get some more. But when you get, make sure you do one thing. Don't keep to yourself only. Give also. Give also. Look at a ministry. If they are struggling and you believe in what they are doing, give to them. Let them have. If you have family members needing a little assistance, give to them. Look for people that you can even train through school. Because the moment you do some of these things, God knows how to replenish, replenish, replenish. I don't recall the last time I was broke. That's just the truth. You know, I don't recall the last time I was broke because God replenishes, replenishes, replenishes. I started off a company with only 5 people, 5 clients, and then we turned 50. One day I noticed we were 700, and another day we are 2,000. Why? Because whatever money I get, I make sure I give to churches, I give to people that I know are doing the works of God that will do good with the money. And that's the whole thing. And if you are in that giving mode, you remember what I said to you earlier when I started Genesis 8:22. Now I'm closing with that. When you sow, it's just the law of the kingdom. It says, seed sowing and the rewards are just a part of what will happen in life. Just like you are breathing, that's how that will happen. You know, a seed time and harvest will never fail. Will never fail. If I don't have any other gig, guess what? It will never fail. Sat in my own house, the phone rings. I said, "What's up?" They said, "We have a job for you." I said, "Job for me? Do you even know who I am? You have a job for me?" He said, "Yeah, we want you to come and work the job." You know, so I'm smiling. I mean, things like that will come to you. But don't forget what I said. Don't keep it to yourself. Make sure you are blessing the works of God. Thank you so much. Thank you for the opportunity. I'll see you guys another time.
Wow.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you. Folks, we want to say a big thank you to Dr. Godfrey for joining us this segment. Thanks for many of you who brought your questions. We leave with the motto of this organization, doing better by doing right. Africa can do better if she simply does right. Join us next week, Monday again at 8 o'clock. We have another professional African here with us, sharing with us his expertise and how that can benefit our people in Africa. Have a good night, everybody. Thanks for joining us.